Hello, it's been a while. Welcome back to the Curious Bartender YouTube channel. I do apologise for the radio silence over the last few months. What can I say? I've been busy, but it's nice to be back. I'm hoping to start populating this channel with more content, more cocktail demonstrations like the one today, more spirit reviews, tastings, all that sort of stuff. But if there's anything particularly you want to see, I'd really like to hear that in the comments, so do mention that, and I'll do my best to fulfill it. Today's episode is all about the Margarita, which is just a drink I've been thinking about a little bit recently. As the weather gets warmer, we're moving into Margarita territory, and I wanted to give a few options as to how this drink might be made at home or in a bar. Because there is a tried and tested formula, but there's also modifications that can be done that will produce equally good, if not better, drinks. So let's start with the first version of the Margarita that I've got here, which is really the classic Margarita. Dating back around 40, 50 years. No one knows exactly when it first kind of came around, but tequila cocktails in general are a kind of newer addition to the cocktail history. The classic Margarita is actually based on the same kind of formula as a few other classic cocktails that date back much further. Those being the Sidecar, which is basically a brandy Margarita, the White Lady, which is basically a gin Margarita, the Cosmopolitan, which is a citrus vodka Margarita, and you get the idea. So that family of drink all share the same thing in common. They are basically made from spirit, which is the interchangeable part, then an orange liqueur, like a triple sec or a curacao or cointreau, and then a souring agent, that being lemon or lime juice. So you shake them up, you strain them out, and you serve them straight up. A lot of people don't realise, but a margarita is basically a cosmopolitan. Put a little bit of cranberry juice in there, and you have yourself a tequila cosmopolitan, which is a strange thing to think about, because all the other ingredients are exactly the same. Now, these aren't the most popular family of drinks. Various friends I speak to who work in the bar industry often quick to find flaws in this style of drink where, you're mixing curacao, spirit, and citrus. They generally just not received as well as classic sours, where you would use a sugar instead of the liqueur. Orange liqueur obviously contributes something to the flavour of the drink and sort of standardises each of the drinks in this family. And that's not always, necessarily welcome, or the contribution isn't always in a positive way. Nonetheless, we have a classic Margarita here. This is how we make it. So you take 50 ml or 40 ml, it doesn't really matter too much, somewhere in that region of tequila, pour it into a shaker. Then you're going to do half of that in lime juice, so 20 ml, 25 ml, and then the same amount in the triple sec or the cointreau. The point here is the ratio is 2-1-1, so 2 parts of the tequila to 1 part of the lime, 1 part of the cointreau, triple sec, curacao. Any of those are absolutely fine to use. Add ice, shake the cocktail up, and strain it out into your cocktail glass. So you have your classic Margarita. Now, you can adjust those ratios ever so slightly if you want to. If you want to make it taste more sour, then dial down the cointreau. Want to make it taste more sweet, dial down the citrus slightly. And you can modify it your own way. Some people will garnish with a wedge of lime as well, so you can squeeze that in there too. And it's an all right drink, Like I say, some people would say this sort of cointreau orange liqueur muddies the water a little bit, steals some of the limelight, if there's a pun there, from the tequila. And that's not necessarily a great thing. Margarita, in some respect, ought to be a sort of very natural expression of tequila. Really the characteristics of the agave amplified with this combination of citrus and sugar to make this fruity agave tasting drink. And I'm not sure a classic Margarita necessarily achieves that perfectly. So moving on, we then have a second version of the drink, which is a Tommy's Margarita. Now you'll notice straight away that this one is served on the rocks, which is one of the things that distinguishes it from a classic Margarita, but it's not the main thing that distinguishes it. You can serve a classic Margarita on the rocks, no problem. You can serve a Tommy's Margarita straight up. It doesn't matter. The main thing that distinguishes this drink is that we don't use cointreau or any orange liqueur. Instead, we're sweetening this cocktail with agave nectar. Now, agave nectar is the sweet syrup that's made from the agave plant, the same plant that's used to make tequila. And it can be bought in various different shops, supermarkets, health food shops, ironically, since it's not actually very good for you. I mean, sugar isn't very good for you, but agave nectar is particularly bad for you because it's very high in fructose, which is really the worst kind of sugar. But there is something to be said for using a sweetening agent that should, I guess in theory, harmonize with the spirit that we're sweetening. You know, both of the agave, both from Mexico. I like that as a story. So 2 parts tequila, 40ml, 50ml. And you want to add your lime juice in there, which would be about 20ml. And then your agave nectar. And that's down to around about 10ml. You only want a little bit. It's super, super sweet. So don't go overboard. It's really one of the sweetest syrups you can buy, in fact. So shake that up and then strain that into a rocks glass. And then you can garnish that with a wedge of lime if you want it, or whatever. So here we have it. It's just a cleaner version of Margarita. It doesn't have sort of the nonsense and fuss that this orange liqueur brings into the drink. It sort of like unfocuses the tequila slightly, whereas here that focus is really sharp on the tequila itself. And it's probably because it's bolstered slightly by that natural agave flavour. It's a better drink. So the third version that I'm making for you here is basically another version of the Tommy's, but instead of using agave nectar, I'm using sugar syrup. You can make sugar syrup yourself. 2 parts sugar, 1 part water, stick it on a pan, heat it till it goes clear, store it in the fridge. So this is like your sort of budget home version. Don't want to go out and buy agave nectar. Same proportions as this one. So 2 parts tequila, then you add 1 part of lime juice, and then the sugar syrup, of which you're going to put around about 10 or 15ml, depending on your ratios. But the ratio is 4-to-1, same as the Tommy's, 4-to-1. 4 parts tequila, 2 parts citrus, 1 part of the sweetener. You might put slightly more sugar in on this sugar syrup one, just because of the sweetness of the agave nectar. I also put some egg white in this too, just because I'm basically making a sour at this point, and I thought, you know, it'd be nice to have a little bit of that foaminess. And when you taste it, that egg white really helps to create a more silky mouthfeel. It stops the drink from sort of sticking to the tongue and being cloying and too grippy and drying on the palate. It just makes it that little bit lighter and foamier and more pleasant. Again, you can adjust the sweetness and acidity on these to your preference, dial the sugar up or down. I tend to keep the lime always around about 50% of the quantity compared to the tequila you've used. So just move that sugar syrup or agave up and down a little bit. This one's been made a little while, but it did actually have a lovely foamy head on top when it was first made. It's still cold actually, considering I made it like 20 minutes ago. But you know, this is, if you've got a bottle of tequila at home and some limes, then you can easily produce this drink. You don't have to go out and buy yourself a bottle of liqueur or any agave nectar. So there you have it. 3 versions of the Margarita. You can pick and choose your favourite. Have a go at all of them if you like. I think that they're all really suitable for the same kind of occasion. It just comes down to, you know, what ingredients you've got and whether or not you want that orange liqueur component to be sort of true to the classic Margarita or not. So that's all from me. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. If you have subscribed, then like the channel. If you haven't subscribed, like the channel as well. And do leave some comments if you want to see anything, any recipes in particular. I'm happy to produce. I've got all the ingredients here. And thanks for tuning in again. Cheers.